Today, I want to talk about something that touches all of us at some point in our lives' loss. Whether it's the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the loss of a dream or a life we once imagined, grief is something we all face. And it's never easy. Grief is a natural and deeply personal emotional response to loss. It is the pain, sorrow, and sense of emptiness that follows when we experience the absence of someone or something important in our lives. Grief can take many forms. It might feel like sadness, anger, confusion, guilt, or even numbness. There is no single way to grieve and no right or wrong way to experience it. Each person's grief journey is unique, shaped by their personality, relationship with what they've lost, and the circumstances surrounding that loss. In the context of the speech, grief is presented as an essential part of the healing process. It is not something to avoid or suppress, but something to acknowledge and work through. Allowing yourself to fully experience grief, to feel the emotions without judgment, is a crucial step in moving forward after loss. Grief is often described as a journey with no clear destination or timeline. It's not something that you simply get over, rather it's something you learn to live with. In fact, the speech emphasizes that grief isn't just about the pain of loss, but also about the love and connection that the loss reflects. The depth of our grief often mirrors the depth of our love or attachment. While grief can be overwhelming and isolating, it also shows how much we cared, how much someone or something meant to us. It's a reminder that love is real and that loss is a part of life. The key point in the speech is that grief, when allowed to flow through us, can eventually lead to healing. It doesn't mean forgetting or letting go of the memory of the person or thing we lost, but it means making peace with the reality of the loss and finding new ways to live with it as we move forward. In summary, grief is an essential emotion that shapes our response to loss. It's a process that requires time, compassion, and patience, both with ourselves and others. By honoring grief as part of the healing journey, we can find new meaning, new hope, and ultimately new ways to move forward. Healing is the process through which we gradually make peace with our loss, allowing ourselves to move forward while integrating the experience of grief into our lives. It's important to recognize that healing is not about forgetting or erasing the pain of loss, but about learning to live with it in a way that allows us to reclaim joy, purpose, and meaning. Healing often starts with acknowledging the grief and giving ourselves permission to feel all the emotions that come with its sadness, anger, confusion, and even guilt. It's about accepting that these emotions are a natural response to the loss and that they don't have to define who we are or how we move forward. In the early stages, healing might feel like a roller coaster. Some days you may feel overwhelmed by sorrow, and other days a sense of relief or peace might wash over you. This ebb and flow is normal and part of the healing journey. One crucial aspect of healing is self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when we feel we should be getting better or moving on, but healing doesn't work on a set timeline. It requires a gentle patience with ourselves, recognizing that healing is not linear. Some days we may feel as though we're taking steps backward, and that's okay. What matters is that we continue to take small steps forward at our own pace. Healing often involves learning to be kind to ourselves, to give ourselves grace in our moments of weakness, and to trust that over time the pain will soften. Another significant part of healing is the ability to find new meaning in life after loss. When we lose something or someone important, it can feel like our world has been upended, leaving us with a sense of emptiness or disorientation. As we heal, we begin to discover ways to reconstruct our lives in the wake of the loss. This might involve finding new passions, engaging in creative outlets, or focusing on relationships that nurture us. It's about finding ways to reconnect with the world around us, even if it's in new or unexpected ways. During this process, it can also be helpful to honor the loss, to find ways to keep the memory alive, whether that's through rituals, memorials, or personal practices that acknowledge what was lost. Healing doesn't mean moving on without looking back. It means holding the memory with love and respect, while also learning how to live in the present and plan for the future. As part of healing, it's also important to seek support. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. Whether it's through friends, family, or a counselor, talking about your grief, sharing your story, and seeking comfort from others who understand can provide a sense of connection and reassurance. It reminds us that we are not alone in our pain and that others have walked similar paths and come out the other side. Finally, healing is about rebuilding. After a loss, it's common to feel that parts of yourself or your life have been shattered. But as healing progresses, you may start to feel a sense of wholeness again, although it may look different than it did before the loss. Healing is about accepting the cracks, the scars, and the changes, but still moving forward with strength and resilience. It's not about returning to the way things were, but about creating a new version of yourself, stronger and more capable of handling whatever life brings your way. Support is one of the most crucial elements in the process of healing after a loss. It's the foundation that helps us feel less isolated, more understood, and more equipped to face the emotional and practical challenges that come with grief. While grief is deeply personal, it's also something that is better navigated with the help of others, because no one should have to carry the weight of loss alone. That support can take many forms, from emotional to physical, and it is essential for helping individuals through their grieving process. The first type of support most people seek during grief is emotional support. This is the reassurance that someone is there to listen to you, to hold space for your feelings, and to comfort you when you're feeling overwhelmed. Emotional support often comes from family members, friends, or people in your community who care about you. However, it's important to remember that the people you turn to for emotional support don't need to offer solutions or fix things often. The most healing thing someone can do is simply be present. One key to emotional support is active listening. This is the practice of being fully present in the moment without judgment or interruption as someone shares their grief. It's common for people to feel the need to make the person feel better or offer advice, but sometimes what's most helpful is allowing the grieving person to express their emotions freely. Just having someone to listen to you can validate your pain and help you feel seen and heard. People who listen empathetically give the gift of acknowledgement, which can feel deeply comforting during a time when it might seem like the world is moving on, but you're still stuck in your grief. Beyond emotional support, practical support can also play a crucial role in the healing process. When grieving, everyday tasks can feel overwhelming. Simple things like cooking meals, handling household chores, or managing financial matters might seem impossible in the midst of emotional pain. Practical support could come in the form of friends or family members stepping in to help with these daily responsibilities. Sometimes support means taking over certain responsibilities so you can rest, reflect, or just focus on taking care of yourself. It can also be about organizing meals, helping with children, or running errands. This type of support offers relief and gives space to mourn without the added pressure of day-to-day obligations. Another form of support that can be particularly helpful is professional support. For many people, talking to a counselor or therapist provides a safe, neutral space to explore their grief. A trained professional can offer guidance on how to process difficult emotions and develop coping strategies for dealing with loss. Therapy can also help identify patterns of behavior or thought that may hinder the healing process, such as unresolved trauma, guilt, or self-blame. Counselors can teach important tools for managing intense grief, as well as how to make sense of complicated feelings. Sometimes the support you need might come from a support group. Support groups allow you to connect with others who are going through similar experiences. The unique value of a support group is that it offers a sense of shared experience. Everyone there knows what it feels like to grieve, and that can provide tremendous comfort. Listening to others' stories, hearing how they cope with their grief, and knowing that you are not alone in your emotions can bring a sense of solidarity. It can also reduce the sense of isolation that many people feel after a loss, especially when others around them might not fully understand the intensity of their grief. Memory plays a central role in the process of grief and healing, acting as a bridge between the past and the present, and often becoming a source of comfort, strength, and even pain. When we experience a significant loss, memories of the person, relationship, or experience we've lost can fill our minds. At times, these memories can feel overwhelming as they remind us of what we no longer have, but they also represent the depth of connection and love we once shared. The role of memory in grief is multifaceted. It can provide a sense of continuity, allow for honoring the past, and help shape the future. 1. The power of positive memories. In the early stages of grief, memories can be bittersweet. At times, they may trigger intense feelings of longing, sadness, or a sense of loss that seems almost too much to bear. However, as time passes, many people begin to realize that memories are not just sources of pain, they also offer moments of joy and warmth. Positive memories, the laughter shared, the experiences enjoyed together, the milestones reached can become treasures that help sustain us through the toughest moments. Recalling happy moments and reflecting on the love and connection that once existed can be a form of emotional healing. These memories can become anchors that remind us of what was meaningful, what was beautiful, and what we learned from the relationship. Over time, the acute pain of loss may soften, and the memories may bring more comfort than sadness. The role of memory in honoring a lost loved one. In the process of moving forward, memories play an important role in honoring the person or thing we've lost. Honoring memory doesn't mean keeping the past locked away or frozen in time. Rather, it means acknowledging and cherishing the impact that person or experience had on your life. Many people find ways to memorialize their loved ones or commemorate their loss, such as creating a photo album, writing letters, planting a tree, or holding an annual ritual or remembrance. These acts allow you to preserve the memory of the lost person in a tangible, meaningful way. For example, someone might continue a tradition that they shared with a loved one, cooking their favorite meal on their birthday or playing a favorite song on the anniversary of their passing. These acts not only keep the memory alive, but they also allow for a sense of connection. It's a way of saying you mattered and your memory lives on with me. Memory can also be preserved in the legacy someone leaves behind, whether that's through the stories they told, the values they imparted, or the lessons they taught. As we remember these aspects, they become integrated into our own lives. We pass them on to others, share them with new generations, and in doing so, ensure that the person's influence continues even after they are gone. 3. The healing power of memory. As painful as it can be to remember someone we've lost, memory also has the power to heal. Over time, reframing memories can shift them from sources of grief to sources of gratitude. While the immediate aftermath of loss may be filled with tears and heartache, many people eventually find themselves smiling at a memory, laughing at something that once felt like too much to bear. Healing happens when we can see memories for what they truly are: snapshots of love, joy, growth, and shared experience. This reframing process doesn't erase the pain, it simply adds new layers of meaning to the memories. For instance, you may begin to view a memory of a difficult moment not just as a reminder of your loss, but also as a reminder of the resilience or strength you showed during that time, or the lessons that emerged from it. Over time, you may come to appreciate the positive impact of that person on your life, even though they are no longer physically present. Moreover, some people find comfort in writing down or speaking about their memories. Journaling, writing letters to the lost loved one, or simply retelling stories to friends and family can be cathartic. These acts allow people to revisit and process the emotions attached to those memories, and through the process, they often find emotional release and a sense of peace. 4. The burden of painful memories. At the same time, memories of loss can sometimes be overwhelming and painful. In the immediate aftermath of a loss, memories may feel like a double-edged sword. The very things that once brought comfort now intensify the ache, and revisiting certain memories may bring up emotions that feel too raw. Some people may struggle with regret or guilt, thinking about things they wish they had done or said. They may replay memories over and over, seeking answers or closure that might never come. Others might find themselves haunted by the way things ended or the inability to change the past. The pain of these memories can sometimes lead to avoidance, where people push memories away in an attempt to protect themselves from the intensity of their grief. In these instances, working through the negative memories with support, whether from a therapist, counselor, or trusted friend, can help provide perspective and healing. It's important to allow ourselves the space to process the difficult memories and to give ourselves permission to feel the pain without judgment. Part of healing involves learning to live with these painful memories and finding ways to move through them, rather than letting them control our lives. Memory as a way to move forward. Though the process can be slow and difficult, memory can ultimately help us move forward. Once we've allowed ourselves to feel the grief and process the pain, memories can transform into sources of strength. Rather than holding us back, they can serve as a wellspring of inspiration, encouraging us to live our lives in a way that honors the legacy of the person or thing we've lost. The memories can push us to live more fully, to be more present, and to embrace the beauty in life, because we know from our experiences just how precious it truly is. In this way, memory becomes a tool not just for remembering, but for healing and growth. As we carry the memories of our loved ones, we may also begin to incorporate the values they stood for into our own lives, creating a lasting tribute to their influence on us. It is in this ongoing relationship with memory that we find a way to keep moving forward, carrying the essence of what we've lost while embracing what the future still holds. Patience is one of the most important yet often most challenging aspects of the grief and healing process. When we face loss, whether it's the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the loss of a dream, there is a deep desire to move on and return to a sense of normalcy. However, healing takes time, and patience is required not just with others, but perhaps more importantly with ourselves. Patience in the context of grief is about allowing ourselves to go through the emotional waves of mourning without forcing ourselves to move on too quickly or expecting to feel better in an unrealistic time frame. It is about respecting the natural, non-linear process of healing, knowing that it will take time to feel whole again, and accepting that this journey is different for everyone. Growth in the aftermath of loss is one of the most profound and transformative aspects of the healing process. While grief can feel like a weight, something that drags us down or leaves us feeling broken, it can also be the catalyst for deep personal development. Growth in the context of loss isn't about forgetting what was lost or moving on as if nothing has changed. It's about finding new ways to live with the loss, to adapt to a new reality, and eventually to emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than before. Growth is a journey that unfolds slowly, often in ways we don't immediately recognize. It can happen in quiet, subtle ways and may not always feel like growth at first, but with time, we begin to see how grief has reshaped us. Just as a plant grows through the process of breaking through soil and stretching toward the light, we too grow by facing the darkness and finding ways to heal and move forward. Loss is one of the most universal experiences that every person will inevitably face. It can take many forms and affect every aspect of our lives, from the emotional to the physical, the tangible to the intangible. While we often associate loss with the death of a loved one, loss is not limited to this singular experience. Loss can also involve the end of a relationship, the loss of a job or career, the fading of a dream, or even a shift in one's health or abilities. No matter the form it takes, loss is an experience that profoundly alters our sense of self, our view of the world, and our place within it. 1. The nature of loss. At its core, loss represents the absence of something or someone that once was a part of our lives. It disrupts the equilibrium of our existence and can challenge our understanding of who we are. Loss is not just an external event, but an internal experience, one that shakes us to our foundation, leaving us to navigate a world that feels unfamiliar or less whole. The many faces of loss. While death is the most obvious and universally recognized form of loss, it is by no means the only type. Loss can manifest in countless ways. Loss of a loved one, the death of a family member, friend, or partner is perhaps the most commonly recognized form of loss. It is the type of loss that often elicits the deepest grief and a long period of mourning. The death of a loved one leaves an irreplaceable gap in one's life, and the emotional impact of their absence is often felt for a lifetime. Loss of a relationship, the end of a romantic relationship, or a deep friendship can be just as impactful as the death of someone you care about. Though the person may still be alive, the emotional connection and shared experiences are severed, leaving a sense of emptiness. This type of loss can trigger feelings of rejection, loneliness, and abandonment, and often requires grieving not just the relationship itself, but also the future plans and dreams that were tied to it. Loss of identity sometimes. Loss doesn't involve a physical person or thing, but rather a part of ourselves. This might include the loss of a role or identity, such as when someone retires from a career that defined their sense of self, or when they go through a divorce that alters their family role. People who have lost a sense of purpose, ambition, or confidence may feel a kind of identity loss, which can be equally disorienting and painful. In such cases, grief becomes about navigating the loss of self, a difficult and often unspoken aspect of the healing process. The emotional impact of loss. Loss brings a wide range of emotions, each unique to the individual and the nature of the loss. Some of the most common emotional reactions to loss include shock and disbelief, especially when loss is sudden or unexpected. The initial reaction is often one of shock or disbelief. We may feel numb, as though we're watching things unfold from a distance, unable to fully process what has happened. This emotional state can protect us in the short term, as it provides a buffer from the full weight of the grief. Sadness and sorrow. Sadness is perhaps the most universal emotion associated with loss. It's a deep feeling of sorrow, a mourning for what was and can no longer be. This sadness may appear as tears, a sense of heaviness, or a quiet yearning for the return of the lost person or situation. It can feel all-consuming, as if life itself has become more difficult to bear without what was lost. Anger and resentment. Anger is another common emotional response to loss. It can arise from feelings of helplessness, injustice, or frustration. We may feel angry at the person we lost, angry at ourselves for not doing more, or angry at the universe for allowing the loss to happen. This anger may also be directed inward, manifesting as self-blame or guilt. The impact of loss on our lives. The impact of loss ripples out in many directions, affecting both our internal and external worlds. Internally, loss can lead to changes in our emotional state, our worldview, and even our sense of identity. Externally, it can change the dynamics of our relationships, our social interactions, and our routines. Changed relationships. Loss often shifts the relationships we have with others. If we lose a spouse, we might feel a sense of isolation, as the person who was once our closest companion is no longer present. If we lose a parent, we may take on new responsibilities or face a different kind of relationship with the remaining family members. Grief can sometimes make us feel disconnected from those around us, especially if others do not share or understand our grief in the same way. Shifting priorities. Loss can lead to a reordering of priorities. After a significant loss, we may begin to value the people and things that matter most to us in a new way. Things that once seemed important may lose their significance, while relationships or values we had overlooked may take center stage. Grief can provide a new perspective on life, reminding us of what truly matters and pushing us to live more fully and authentically. The process of healing from loss. Healing from loss is not a straightforward process. It takes time and it requires patience and self-compassion. For many, healing involves embracing the grief, understanding its lessons, and allowing it to shape them in ways that bring growth and transformation. Support, memory, and patience all play important roles in this journey as we learn to accept that loss is a part of life and that, through it, we can emerge stronger and more connected to what truly matters. The process of healing from loss. Healing from loss is not a straightforward process. It takes time and it requires patience and self-compassion. For many, healing involves embracing the grief, understanding its lessons, and allowing it to shape them in ways that bring growth and transformation. Support, memory, and patience all play important roles in this journey as we learn to accept that loss is a part of life and that, through it, we can emerge stronger and more connected to what truly matters. In conclusion. Loss is an inevitable and deeply transformative part of the human experience. Whether it's the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the loss of a dream, or a shift in our sense of self, loss forces us to confront our deepest vulnerabilities. It challenges us in ways we cannot anticipate and reshapes us in ways we may not fully understand. Yet through loss, we also discover our capacity for resilience, our ability to heal, and our potential for growth. As we navigate the complexities of grief and the pain of loss, we learn to embrace the process of healing, understanding that it is neither quick nor linear. We develop a greater sense of empathy, both for ourselves and others, and we uncover new sources of strength, wisdom, and compassion. With patience, we allow ourselves the time and space to grieve, knowing that healing is a journey, not a destination. While loss may leave us with a sense of emptiness, it also gives us the opportunity to reimagine our lives, to find new meaning, and to reconnect with what truly matters. Ultimately, loss does not define us. How we choose to respond to it, how we carry its lessons forward, and how we embrace the possibilities of the future will determine our path to healing. May we remember that grief is a testament to the love and the value of what we have lost, and through it, we can find the courage to live fully, honor the memories we carry, and open ourselves to the future with hope and compassion.